And I think what's happened and this is not maybe news to most people, but what's happened is that the way agencies are paid has changed over time. That used to be Agencies used to be in a retainer model. They used to make money off of media. They used to buy media and make money off of that. And when that went away,
Could you kind of explain that a little bit as far as how it
so
breaks
as
down?
best I can, and the media portion of this, how agencies made money on commission on media, that was leaving when just as I was getting into the business. But agencies made a lot of money on media, and that's a whole other podcast. Maybe you can have with someone from the media space, and they can explain it in better detail. But that happened, and then what happened was clients were went from a retainer model for the business. And a retainer meant that an agency and a client would work out the scope of work for the year, and an agency would be paid a monthly retainer. It allowed agencies um, to properly staff businesses because they kind of had cost certainty, and then they would revisit those, a couple times a year to make sure that they had enough staff. The client might have felt, no, you're not staffed properly, and they would tweak that. So it moved from that over time to a project basis. And what project did was it makes it harder for agencies to staff businesses properly because they're staffing per project, and projects can be taken away, and then their agencies are overstaffed, and uh, or added, and then they're understaffed, and it just makes it a lot harder for agencies to properly manage their businesses. This is not a secret. This has been going on for a long time, and many people have written about this. It's really partly a function of the rise of procurement on the client side, and procurement officers serve a function within client organizations, which is to get the best possible cost for um, for that client, and so they scrutinize the work that agencies are doing, and the projects and the staffing, and it's very prescriptive, and it tends to drive costs down, which clients like, but then agencies can't properly staff. So there's the rise of procurement officers in companies has had an impact, I'll say, on the way agencies operate. And so that has changed things too. And the last thing I'll say about this, because it's a long answer and it's a complicated question, is that because of that, um, because of that pressure on the bottom line for agencies, the training and development portion that agencies used to spend on training young staff, be it creative people or account people or strategic people, media people, so and so on, has not disappeared, but it has been really put under a great deal of pressure. So there's less time and less money to do that, and that isn't good for juniors in the business coming into the business because there just isn't the time for agencies to properly train people. So a lot of pressures on the business, and it's had um, certain impacts in the way agencies operate and function.
For those listening at home, procurement is they basically, if you, let's say you're in a automotive company, an automotive company has dozens of suppliers for their cars. The procurement people will go and negotiate with the suppliers to try to get the best price. So those same people are judging who is going to get the advertising account too. They know nothing about advertising, but they see numbers on a spreadsheet and they try to get it lower. So
And so you'll be in a pitch, and maybe you'll be in round three of a pitch, just you and another agency, and then they'll start to negotiate. And sometimes an agency will will buy the business, we say, and come in with a really low price on a blended hourly rate, and they might win the business that way.
just on price.
Just on price, but then it's really, really hard to make for the agency to make enough money on that. And then the relationship is fraught with peril because uh, their client agency isn't making enough money. They're trying to charge more to make the money they need to make, and the client is angry because they were promised this many people, and so it just puts everybody in a bind.